Okay, let's take a look at a Swiss-made diver from Glycine. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Glycine Combat Sub 42. We'll get into the specs of the watch, then I'll tell you guys my thoughts and experience on it, and at the end I'll tell you guys if I recommend it. So let's take a look at the specs here. We have a case diameter of 42 millimeters. We have a case thinness of 10.7. We have a lug to lug of 50 millimeters and the lug width here of 22 millimeters. We have a sapphire crystal up top with a R coating. This does feature a 60 click unidirectional bezel with a aluminum bezel insert, screw down crown, screw down case back, and it does feature the Combat Sub logo on the back there engraved. And this does have the ETA 2824 movement. So this does have hacking and hand winding, second hand stops, smooth action there with the crown. This does have this particular variant has a matte black dial with printed lume plots, and it does have those stark white hands for high contrast and legibility. This does have the 3-link style bracelet, has solid end links and milled clasp here, which is very thin and very secure, very well executed. You can feel and hear the clicks on both the extra security here clasp, and you can just it just works. It's well done, very well executed, very thin. It wears well. And speaking of that wearability, we can check here how it looks on my 7-inch wrist, just for reference. 50 millimeter lug to lug, it works well on my 7-inch wrist, no overhang. I think a 6.5-inch wrist or above can wear this. It wears very low to the wrist because of the thinness of 10.7. So any sleeve that you have, any sweater is going to go right over this thing. This does wear true to size. It is a bigger watch at 42. The thinness and the bracelet help wear well, but it is a 42 nonetheless. So just keep that in mind. It's not heavy or overbearing, but it is true to size. I know some watches can wear a little bit smaller than what it suggests on paper, but this thing does wear like a 42. So these are currently available on Joma Shop and Ashford, and they vary in price, but you can get them anywhere from $350 to $600. I suggest that you wait and hold off until they have a coupon code or some type of sale, because that way you can pick these up for that lower end. Even on the bracelet here, they do have different types of variants. You can get them on a rubber strap, different dial colors, and they also have the Arabic numerals, and they also have an Explorer type dial. So it's just what flavor, it just depends on what flavor you like. These let's go through the high points of this watch. The highlights of this would be, first and most importantly, is the ETA 2824. I mean, that's a very reliable movement, and it's actually featured. I have it on a few of my more expensive divers. So at $350, it's actually a really good movement to have. This is a no nonsense watch. As you'll see a recurring theme here, like the 60 click unidirectional aluminum bezel insert is nothing to brag about, but it gets the job done. The Luminova on there with the printed dial, again, nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. So that's just kind of a basic watch, but it's actually well executed. You'll see the brushing up top is actually very fine and uniform, and then it contrasts well with the polishing on the sides here. The bracelet is another big highlight of this watch. It's very solid feeling. There's almost no wiggle to it. The clasp is very well done. Like I said, it's very thin. It wears well on wrist, and it feels very secure. You can hear and the clicking of it. So this thing I picked up because I wanted a daily wear, a daily beater, and I made a checklist, and this checked off most of the boxes. I like the thought of having Glycine as the brand behind it because there is some heritage there. They created the first GMT for the pilots, so that's their pedigree. This is a Swiss made timepiece, and I like the sizing of this watch. I like the thinness of this watch, so on paper I thought this was a good fit. The oversized crown I thought was going to be very easy to grip and like a high point as well. It is signed, so it's actually kind of nice. But now let's get into the negatives of this watch. For me personally, I've owned and worn this for about three weeks to a month, and I wore it on Monday through Friday, almost every day for a whole month. And this thing here, what I thought was some of the highlights actually hinder the watch, as I'll show you. It's very thin, which is very well done for an automatic movement, but at the same time, that bezel is almost non-existent, so it's very hard to turn. I didn't do this on purpose, but I just put lotion not that long ago, and it's actually kind of hard to grip it. It's because it's so thin. You kind of have to come from up top and grab it to turn it well and easily. Because like this, when you're turning it this way, it's very hard and very slippery, just because there's almost no material there to grab. So that thinness actually kind of hinders the bezel from turning. It is well executed as far as the bezel goes, because there's almost no back play. You can feel the clicking, so it's very secure, but it's just hard to grip. Another thing too is that oversized crown is easy to get to and easy to grip, but it also digs into the back of my wrist. So again, I thought a highlight of this watch, but at the end of the day, when you daily wear this, it actually makes for a kind of a bad experience. I've been kind of spoiled by Seiko's comfort and wearability, but I don't think that it should dig into your wrist like that. Those turn down lugs help it, I think, wear a little bit small because of the 50mm lug to lug. It's very manageable and doable, but that downturn create a hot spot when I wear this thing. So just let me see if I can show you guys. As a daily wearer on my activities, I can feel the lugs kind of dig into my wrist a little bit, which also causes a discomfort on my wrist. So it's just, it's a well-built watch, and it's a good brand behind it. Some people look down on the brand because they are affiliated right now with Invicta. Invicta actually owns them. I don't think that's a fair judgment, just because it's kind of like if somebody blames you for a mistake that your brother makes that's living across the country. You had nothing to do with it. That's what he did, and that's on him, but they want to make you pay for it, or they're blaming you for it. It doesn't work like that. I think that's a good analogy to the Glycine brand right now. This has nothing kind of to do with Invicta, although they are owned by them. They are their own brand, and their watches look nothing kind of like the Invictas that they're putting out. So I see why they associate them with their parent company, but I don't agree with it. It's just not there. It's not the same thing. But anyways, that's another topic. The Lume Bright on this is also kind of weak. It is initially strong, as you'll see later on towards the end of the video. It does burn kind of bright in the beginning, but it does kind of fade away fairly quickly. What does help with the legibility, though, I'll give it that, is these bright, stark white hands. So it does help. Even though the Lume doesn't last all night, you can still see because of the high contrast on there. So this watch overall is well built, and it's actually, I think, a good bargain for $350. I just can't wear this watch, so I wouldn't recommend this just because it's not comfortable to me. But I do have to say, I have friends that have owned this longer than I have, had more experience with this, and they say they don't feel the same things I do. So to them, it's a comfortable watch. They don't have hot spots. Maybe it's the way I'm wearing this thing. Maybe it's my activities. I don't know. But I cannot recommend something that doesn't feel right to my wrist. So just something to keep in mind before you pull the trigger. Let me know if you guys own the Combat Sub, if you guys feel the same discomforts, or if it's actually comfortable for you. That I didn't think about until I bought this watch and I wore it every day. Like I said, some of the highlights actually kind of hindered the watch. So I just wanted to let you guys know before you guys pull the trigger on this, some of the downturns of the watch here. Let me charge this up for you really quickly so you can see what I'm talking about with the Lume. Like I said in the beginning, it's gonna look bright, so it might look bright for the few seconds that I have it on screen, but don't be fooled. This thing will burn out before the end of the night, and but it will be legible because of the stark white hands. So let's turn off the lights here. Yeah, see, so it's fairly bright, and it does last for most of the night, but it's no Lume bright, it's no Citizen Lume, it's nothing to those levels. I mean, it's there, but it's nothing to brag about. Let me know what you guys think of the watch, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.